The purpose of the Sessionize action is to take transactional data and to aggregate it at an ID level to ensure that you can do further modeling and processing with one row per unique ID. It's called Sessionize because it was inspired by web sessionization, where often you want to have a visitor or other unique ID, like a unique user ID, be aggregated for further analysis. And this way, I can take a look at aggregated information or characteristics about a particular user or company or organization and aggregate things like characteristics across multiple transactions or sessions. This could be multiple purchases in an ERP or financial system, as well as web data or any other transactional system. The way that it works is that you select an ID column or columns that represent the level of analysis that you'd like to use. Let's assume that in this data set, typically it's an ID, but let's assume that in this case, we're looking at the name of an account and the categorical columns you fill in for those characteristics, which have a one-to-one relationship with this ID. So if you have some characteristics like country, for example, that is always true for this ID, you'd select them from this categorical column. What you would not select from this is, for example, lots of different individual transactions where these values could be different. You want to have a one-to-one relationship. And if you're doing accounts, for example, this could be account type, it could be customer type, or those types of information. The create flags takes things that can be different across transactions and creates flags. So essentially you get a 1 or a 0 with whether or not it's true. In this case, I'm going to take product type and I'm going to turn that into a flag because I want to know the mix of products on a single row that this particular customer has purchased throughout his or her lifetime. I can do this. You notice that some of these are grayed out. There's a limit to the number of columns that you can create here to 200. You can do subsequent sessionizing, but the idea is to be more specific and to be more manageable with data sets so that you're not creating too many fields for analysis. And then the aggregation works by doing some sort of summary aggregation. In this case, I'm going to choose the sum for the total amount that was purchased in this data set and the total quantity that was purchased in this data set. So what this will do is we'll create one row per unique ID. It will add the columns that I've selected here that are characteristics of that ID. It summarizes across a single row for the different values that would be created across transactions that I turn into columns with ones or zeros. And finally, I aggregate any numeric columns that I want with any aggregate values. In this case, I'm summing the total number of total amount of price or revenue from each customer and the total amount of quantity or amount purchased from each customer. In this time period, I hit save and I hit execute. Now this is done with execution. I can take a look at how the data has changed. I'm going to hide the name, which is our unique ID, and let you take a look at the data. That was the result. So as mentioned before, we had a categorical column that is a characteristic that has a one-to-one relationship with each ID. So here you can see the country of that particular account customer. And I've added the aggregated information, so I've got the price and the quantity sum. So this is how much was purchased from each one of these customers. You can see which ones are larger or smaller. And then you also have information on the product type 1 or 0. Did they purchase any particular product type? In this case, some greeting cards were purchased by this person, whereas another product was purchased by these first 3. And that's it. That creates sessionization. Thanks for watching.